What's up guys, Sean here, Shock Surplus. I'm the founder of Shock Surplus, and if you're just tuning into the channel or us in general, all I've been doing for the past 10 years is running shocks, selling shocks, testing shocks, and here we've got King shocks, Fox shocks, Icon shocks. We service all of these shocks. Here's the internals. So all we do is shocks. All this information is really stemming from experience on these shocks in our own vehicles. I've got a parking lot now with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I brought 8 vehicles, 8 staff vehicles, almost all running different shocks. We have just a round table of feedback always happening. We're also answering hundreds of questions every week. We've got hundreds of questions on our YouTube channel, emails, Instagram, so you can reach us anywhere you want, but we are just gonna dive into some frequently asked questions that we see, some of your YouTube questions from the past couple weeks. So let's dive in. No real major theme here, but we will bookmark the questions in the description so you can just hop right to anything that might be relevant for you. For my 2020 4Runner, I don't do any high speed anything. Most of what I do is low speed, choppy, rocky, overland stuff with lighter duty rock crawling, looking for the most comfortable, smoothest ride possible. Thinking the Fox is the way to go, is that correct? So very low speed, scenic, kind of overland use. Maybe you've got some gear, doesn't do any high-speed desert stuff here in the Southwest or in SoCal. So looking for, you know, a comfortable ride on road probably as well, but also on the chalky, rocky trails, you know, thinking Big Bear, thinking Mammoth, thinking all, you know, Arizona, Utah desert, scenic stuff, camera out the window. I definitely get it. There's a lot of options there based on your budget. All of these race products may be overkill. You can tune any of these products here to give you the ride you want, but you're looking at about probably $3,000 all in on a Fox, King, or Icon setup. There's a lot of other options though for you. Fox 2.0 is gonna be able to eat up that choppy, rocky trail kind of stuff. iBach 2.0 Pro Trucks are gonna be able to do that for you as well. Old Man Emu BP51 is really good because that rebound adjustment on that shock is just heavily impacts daily driven comfort, rocky trail comfort, easy comfort, and vehicle handling. So similar price to these, but the adjustments on the BP51s, super top notch. A lot of options there. You don't need to go race series. You don't need to go with a $3,000 or $4,000 suspension system to address what you're looking for. What would you recommend for me? I've got a 22 Ford Bronco Badlands Sasquatch, very similar to that Bronco right there. I mostly do overlanding, hauling my camping gear. I also do moderate off-road. It's hard to give a recommendation without a budget. Like I said, you can get into a $3,000 or $4,000 suspension system. The Bronco is unique in that it is coilovers on all 4 corners, which makes a complete system a lot more expensive. The iBach Pro Truck coilovers that we're running on the Bronco Sasquatch out there, I believe those run about $1,700 for the set of 4. Very nice. It subdues a lot of the rocky trail, a lot of the overlanding, slow speed stuff. So it's gonna feel a lot softer, better bump compliance than the Haas 2.0 package that came on that Sasquatch, or I think comes on that Sasquatch. The yellow Bilstein Haas 2.0 package, the iBach is gonna feel softer than that on the daily drive. Not as good in the high speed stuff, but if you're looking for comfort, iBach has been really good to this Bronco. Typically we would recommend Fox 2.0, but Fox hasn't arrived with their 2.0 option yet. Another kind of softer option are the Bilstein 5100s. Those definitely will address the overland need, hauling some extra gear. They're softer than the Haas 2.0 package and softer than the iBach Pro Trucks. That's based on our testing that we're doing with the Bronco that's sitting right outside this door. We can dive into more. We need to understand the budget. Do you want the best of everything to address your needs? Then we can get a set of King coilovers going for you, but freaking 10 months ETA right now. Which shocks would be best to haul and tow? Once again, budget makes a big difference. Someone asked this question on the Fox versus King video. So between these two options, we always recommend the Fox Performance Elite or the DSC because the low speed adjuster here will fine tune the daily driven pavement stuff, and so that also includes hauling. Low shaft speeds, that's what this is, the low speed adjuster is for. So low shaft speeds being pavement easy trails where that suspension really isn't moving at all, this low speed adjuster is going to fine tune and tighten up the handling for tow loads. And then you can loosen it up for daily driven comfort. Other good options for towing and hauling, Bilstein 5100s. We've run that on a bunch of vehicles. The Bilstein 5100 or the 4600 product is probably the tightest handling shock out of most brands due to the digressive nature of their tuning and of their piston. So Bilstein on a budget, definitely a really good option. Fox 2.5 DSCs if you got no budget and you just really want the best. There are other options, but email us at support and we'll dive into that for you. Next question. I've got a stock GX470. We'll be running 33s, maybe 34s, daily driver 50% of the time, 50% of the time on Wups, Washboards, Gullies, sand, slick rock. We'll on occasion tow a teardrop. Do I get the Fox 2.0s or the 2.5s? How would you set this 470 up with this driving criteria? If he's thinking about 2.0s or 2.5s, maybe he's got a little bit of a budget, but he might be willing to splurge if it's worth it. With all of that said, with all of that general use, it sounds like he really wants a package that addresses all of his activities. Towing, higher speed, moderate speed off-roading, slower speed stuff, daily driving, much bigger wheels and tires. I will definitely, if 2.5s are in the budget, definitely go 2.5s because of the versatility here. You know, adjusting for, washboards, you can adjust the settings here to address the washboard just jitteriness and to subdue some of that chatter. On the 2.0s, you won't be able to subdue any of that chatter. 2.0s feel better on washboard than something like a Bilstein, but occasionally towing the teardrop, like the previous question, that low speed adjustment will be able to handle it. The high speed compression adjuster will be able to handle those whoops and the gullies and just the aggressive driving nature where there's unpredictability in the terrain. You want the high speed adjuster here to be able to protect the suspension from full bottom out or from full top out on something like a curb or large rocks or a whoop. Within the budget, 2.5s for sure. 2.0s, will it get all of that done without adjustments? Yeah, it definitely will, but the 2.0s are, I wouldn't say squishy, but they're definitely on the soft side. And where the 2.5s really shine is you can still have them be soft, but the rebound and load handling is much better in a 2.5 inch damper. What shocks do you recommend for riding on different terrain so I'm not flying off the seat when driving over a bump in a Ram 2500? So we've got a Ram 2500, I'm driving it out there, and we've been going through a bunch of different shock packages, including Bilstein, Rancho 9000s, Fox 2.0s, the Fox Reservoirs, and now we're on King 3.0s. And so I definitely know what you mean where you're hitting a bump, and if that bump's too big, that front end is just ricocheting and pogoing up because the rebound damping in whatever shock you might have, probably a 2.0 is just not enough, and it just lets that front end fly. So you start rebounding too much and bouncing like this until it recovers. That's not the behavior we want in an 8,000 pound vehicle, so I understand your pain points. We had that kind of pain point in the Bilstein and in the Rancho, and sometimes in the Fox, but not too much. When we went to the Fox Carly kit, the Fox 2.0s, it really helped out that rebound. So it was still pretty plush on the compression and initial hits, but on the rebound, it didn't let that front end buck so much. And I think that's really what you're after. When you step into a 2.5 package like the Kings, you'll still have that kind of plush feel, and then the rebound will be even better. So I hope that kind of informs what you may be looking for. If you aren't already in a Fox 2.0, I would say definitely try those out. I might actually have some for sale if you want to hit me up. Those are a great first starter on a budget. If you want no budget, and you're looking for kind of the best for these trucks, kind of a buy it for life purchase, I can't recommend the Carly pin-top system enough. Really enjoying it on the Power Wagon, and we've got a separate review kind of and guide series happening there for the Power Wagon. So tune into that if you want some more info, or just hit me up, Sean@shocksurplus.com. On another video, you said the Bilstein 6112s are better on pavement than the Fox 2.0s. Now you're saying Fox is softer. Now those aren't mutually exclusive. Better is very subjective to the driver. What I might say is better is tight handling out of a Bilstein product, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's softer. Bilstein is actually the least soft out of a lot of the options that we sell. And then softer to some people might not be better. Softer might be worse driving because they want a controlled ride. So better isn't really the terminology we like to use around here. We like to use tighter, chatter subduing, plusher, softer, low speed, support in the mid speed. Those kind of things are more what we're talking about, which is like addresses how these shocks are tuned and the behaviors they're kind of going after. Back to the 6112s versus Fox 2.0. The biggest difference between those two is the digressive tuning in the Bilstein shock versus linear tuning in the Fox 2.0. If we're talking about a Tacoma, the Fox 2.0 is just going to be softer overall. And through being more soft, you sacrifice a little bit more handling, but you benefit from subduing rocky trail chatter and washboard chatter, and that'll just feel softer and more subdued and not maybe rattle your teeth out as much. If you're putting Bilstein 6112s on the exact same vehicle, then that rocky chatter, you're going to feel more of it. You're going to feel more of the washboard, but where you do benefit is tighter handling on the street, under loads, heavier loads, towing, overland gear. The Bilstein product is going to handle all of that tighter. And as you get going, the 6112s are going to soften up, similar to how a Fox 2.5 is going to feel. So the 6112s are going to be able to handle the choppier stuff at faster speeds without fading, but B, also more damping ability in the 6112s for higher speed off-road, which is really what they're built for. If you want max comfort and you're debating between 6112s or a Fox 2.0, Fox 2.0 is going to be the answer. And for you, that's going to be better. For some, that might not be better. So it's a driver preference. That's why we can't give recommendations without understanding what the driver wants. How much better do King 2.5s ride compared to Fox 2.0? Curious as I have considered upgrading on-road and off-road. Worth the upgrade? So back to riding better. Some people, when they get into a 2.5 inch, they actually are surprised by how much kind of sharper or tighter the feel is versus a Fox 2.0. Some people are expecting the ride to be even more comfortable, but that's not necessarily the case unless you tune specifically for that. Off the shelf, we'll just use a Tacoma or an IFS vehicle, a Silverado or F-150 as the example. Off the shelf, they might come with a 650-pound spring. If you wanted to make them softer or equally soft as like a 2.0 shock, then you might go with a lower spring rate, 600 pound, 500 pound. And that's gonna make that ride quite a bit softer and then allow the shock to dampen the energy through whatever terrain you're on. In terms of abilities though, a 2.5 package is just gonna have just more consistent damping. It's kind of like if I had muscles like David here, where my arms were just much bigger, it would just require a lot less work to pick up this shock than with my puny arms right here. That's really how we categorize these pistons. Here's a 2-inch. This piston is out of a 2-inch shock, and this piston is out of a 2.5-inch shock. And when you're doing exact identical terrains, it just takes less work out of the 2.5-inch shock to do the exact same work, which is vehicle stability, than the 2-inch shock. This requires just more effort to maintain stability on the vehicle than this does. So, imagine similar terrains. This piston and shock is moving this much, while this piston and shock is moving this much. You're gonna feel a lot more out of this shock. And while this shock might feel softer, stability is a lot less. This shock will still feel somewhat soft, but stability is a lot greater. Can you make this shock feel a lot softer and equivalent? Yes, you can, but then you sacrifice the stability. So when you're talking about off-the-shelf product and being able to custom tune a 2.5-inch shock versus not being able to custom tune a 2.0 shock, you can really get what you want a lot easier out of a 2.5-inch shock than a 2.0. Kind of a fancy way of answering yes. The 2.5 is definitely worth the upgrade. I think you will notice the difference. Just the overall feel of support is there. I could get into the minutia of rebound and compression and how that all affects, but we really have to, it depends on your vehicle, driving style, terrain. But on a daily driver, a 2.5 and a 2.0 will feel sometimes very similar. Where you see differences is on driveways, highway joints. You'll feel less kind of floppy behavior after the fact in a 2.5-inch shock. So rebound into a 2.5, we typically just feel more confidence there than a 2.0. And that's from running a 2.0 and a 2.5 and a 3.0 on the same vehicle. So Hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, hit us up in the comments, email us. We'll be addressing more questions for you guys in the next week or two. Keep tuning in. Thanks so much for your guys' support. Subscribe for more answers on your vehicles in the coming future, and we hope to see you on the trail. Thanks.